So we had a very important case handed down this week regarding the migrant protection protocols, viewed largely as a setback to the Biden administration. Chris Hajec, tell us what this case was about and what happened last week.
Well, it was a huge setback for their plan to stand down on the border and cause an immigration surge, which they have done. I mean, one of the components of this was to end the Remain in Mexico policy, which was, or migrant protection protocols, where under the law, it was permissible for the administration, the Trump administration, to take asylees who would come and make asylum claims. It was permissible for them to return them to Mexico to wait for their hearings, which would come up in 6 months, a year, whatever, instead of continuing to release them into the United States, where they would always abscond and disappear and just basically be fugitives. Very few would turn up for their hearings. And of those who did turn up, only 15% got asylum. So anyway, this program was in place. 50,000 at least of aliens were returned to Mexico, and the asylum claims dried up. They were not interested in coming here from Central America through Mexico so that they could be returned to Mexico and wait in Mexico for hearings where they know they would not get asylum. So they stopped coming. So Biden ended the program and they started coming again. And he kept releasing them into the United States. And the court struck that down. The court said you have to go back to the Trump era policy. And that's why it's important.
Now, the government appealed this since then, didn't they? What was the result of that?
Not good for the government. They moved for a stay pending appeal. They've appealed. That appeal's not over. Mm-hmm. But while the appeal's going on, the district court order restoring the Trump program is still in place. What they wanted to do is have it not be in place while they appealed.
Mm-hmm. Now, the normal arc of these cases, it seems to be, they eventually percolate up to the Supreme Court. Does the fact that the Fifth Circuit ruled against them essentially, does that give you any indication of how this might play out as it goes further up?
Well, the Fifth Circuit signaled very strongly that it does not view the government's position here as strong at all. They issued a lengthy opinion explaining why they were unlikely to succeed on the merits, so they weren't going to stay the injunction. Now, they will try to get an emergency stay in the Supreme Court. I suspect it will fare no better. Mm-hmm. And then the appeal will go to the Fifth Circuit and then to the Supreme Court. I don't think they're going to win the appeal in the Fifth Circuit.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed in the coverage of this case in the media that it seems like there should have been a lot more, but world events have really relegated it off the front page where it belongs. But they will often refer to the MPP as controversial. How effective in your mind was MPP during the Trump years?
It was very effective, as I said. It prevented, it really prevented a lot of meritless asylum claims. That whole asylum caravans and all that, all those people were coming to claim asylum, and they didn't have any basis usually. Mm-hmm. That dried up because of this. Real asylees are content to remain in Mexico or wait in Mexico for their hearings because they want a hearing. And but these meritless claims, that's not what they wanted, so they stopped coming.
Mm-hmm. Now, as we know, the situation at the border is far more chaotic now than it was just 8 or 9 months ago because of these Biden policies. If MPP is to go back into effect, how do you think it will help, or how much do you think it will improve the situation down there?
Well, that's hard to say. There are so many other things that are wrong that the effect from this alone might not be so significant, but it may stop at least the asylum part of it, as it did before.
Mm-hmm. Now, it seems like the AntiBorders movement has really fought this hard. Why do you think it's so important for them that these asylum seekers be kept on our side of the border versus down in Mexico?
Well, they know exactly what is happening, just as we do, that they are absconding and basically disappearing into the United States and becoming illegal aliens. And that's what they want. They want more illegal aliens. Why they want more illegal aliens, well, you'd have to ask them.
Mhm. Now, assuming this were to go to the Supreme Court and the plaintiffs were to win, is there anything preventing this administration from not complying with it? I mean, they seem to have a very strong resistance to following the law on these things. What can be done if they don't comply with it?
Well, the court can ask for the names of officials who are ordering this noncompliance, and then hold them in contempt of court, which can involve all kinds of personal consequences for them. So that's a very strong tool the court has to enforce its orders.
Now, during the Trump years, it seemed like these lower courts were used with great efficiency by the anti-borders movement to get injunctions against Trump immigration policies. Now it seems like it's being used in the opposite way to prevent these Biden initiatives. Well, what do you see happening here on a kind of a view from 30,000 feet with how the judiciary is being used in this regard?
Well, it's similar to what they tried to do to Trump during the Trump years. Of course, it's in reverse. And one thing that they did not have when they were challenging Trump's policies was a sympathetic Supreme Court. They almost always lost in the Supreme Court. And Trump was able to move ahead because of the Supreme Court's decisions on building the wall, on this policy, and other asylum policies. What the administration faces now is a good district, pro-enforcement district judges in Texas, and then the Fifth Circuit, which is pro-enforcement, and then up to the Supreme Court, which has been, as I say, largely on the side of enforcing the law. So they may fare far worse on appeal than we did when we were in a similar position.
Mm-hmm. Now, through your department at IRLI, there have been a number of amicus briefs filed in this case and many other cases. Can you talk a little bit about what role these amicus briefs play in these cases and why they're important?
Well, they bring things to the court's attention that the parties might not bring. They are based on our expertise in immigration law, which the court does not always have. And in this brief in particular, we put this particular the rescission of this particular policy into a larger context of the entire border surge and how it played into that. And we think that was reflected in the court's opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we'll certainly keep our eye on this case going forward, Chris, as I'm sure you and your attorneys will. If you want to hear more information about this case and many of the other victories that IRLI has helped bring about, just go to IRLI.org, and you can also see more information on our social media accounts on Twitter, Facebook, Parler, Rumble, YouTube, and others. So, Chris, I want to thank you again for taking this time, and we'll talk to you next time.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Bye-bye.